Hello, welcome back to The Zone. This week we have another game that I've been looking forward to almost all year. As soon as this was announced, I was hyped for it and I had the date bookmarked and I was ready to play. Beyond Two Souls, starring Ellen Page, who's one of my favourite actresses of all time, and Willam Defoe, had an amazing hype train behind it. I think it's the only way to put it. It was very, very hyped and pumped up and was very raring to go to play this game. And it came out and I played it and I got about 2 hours in and suddenly the magic was gone. Now, the game is very similar to that like Heavy Rain, which I know a lot of you may have played, which came out a long time ago, and is very much an interactive movie. A lot of quick time events, a lot of decision making, very much make your own game kind of style. But for a game like this to work, it needs a very powerful story to carry it along. Now, without trying to sound like all the other reviews that are out there, the story just isn't quite there. That's what I got from it. The gameplay is great, it's very different, it is exactly what I was expecting going into this. Lots of decision making, make your own story. There's no real way to fail anything I found. I never died, I never found myself making the wrong decision. Just played a different cutscene, just played out slightly different. If I screwed up in a fight, I got punched a little bit extra and I had to do it again, or I had to find a different way to, not as in completely repeating the same sequence, but I had to take a couple of extra blows before I could take someone down. So there was no real straight up failure, this just kept becoming a story which developed as I went with it. But as I say, the written story and the way the character went and the way it jumped about all over the place, you don't play it in sequential order. You play different chapters of Jodie's life throughout the course of the game and you jump about backwards and forwards, which it's okay, it's fine, a little flashback here and there, a little bit of background info, it's good. But the game does it so often, I found myself getting completely lost. They do explain why right at the very end you are jumping about all over the place. I'm not going to go into too much detail for spoilers, of course. But I still feel it's a bit of a weak explanation and I don't like the way it played out. It's a nice try, but no. You also then have a lot of segments, and the big one that really got to me, a lot of segments, and this big one was, we go out to, minor spoilers here if you do want to skip it, I suggest you mute for a couple of seconds. Head out to a ranch in the middle of America, quite simply, it's the desert, and help out a Native American family on their farm. Fine, done. It's about 2-3 hours of gameplay. But ultimately, what did I get from that gameplay? A whole lot of nothing. I didn't really feel any more attached to Jodie because of it. I didn't really gain a sense of character development. It wasn't particularly pivotal in the whole story. It just seemed like, okay, so we've got this story, this is what's driving it. We need a couple of extra hours of gameplay. Well, let's bolt this little bit of story and put a little mini game here that's got some kind of link into it, just by including challenges, basically. Another thing I found with a lot of games, I'm not a big horror game player because I get very invested in my characters, and honestly, I get very scared. I was going to say something a little bit less family friendly there, but yeah, it scares me. That's what horror games are for, and I don't find that fun. I get invested in my characters, I get scared for them, and I don't want to run them into dangerous rooms and things that I can see are going to be trouble. When it came to Jodie, and it came to the dark, jumpy, scary, spooky moments that was trying to speak you out, I didn't give a crap. I was running her in there and just charging in head first, seeing what happened, throwing her around and doing whatever the hell I wanted. I didn't feel invested, I didn't feel attached to Jodie the way I would have perhaps liked to be. There's also a big thing, and now this may be me being a bit of a graphics whore if you like, but honestly, a game like this that is designed to be an interactive movie, a game that is designed to be a story event, it's gotta look pretty nowadays in my opinion. Now, if you'd have made this a PC exclusive, you could have got it looking incredibly pretty. If you'd have just waited a couple of months and put it out on the PlayStation 4, it would have looked even better. But there's a lot that's gone into the motion capture, there's a lot that's gone into building these characters around the actresses and the actors, and there's a lot of names in here that aren't the Ellen Page and the Willam Defoes that you may recognise faces and look them up on IMDb, as I did, and spot them from a couple of other shows. There's a couple of other names and faces dotted around that you do recognise, and there's a lot of work that's gone into that. But it's just quite let down by the fact that their heads have got jagged edges and look a bit like a hexagon, or octagon, whatever, more sides. But they just don't quite look smooth, and it's not quite real enough, and it doesn't just draw me in. I wasn't attached, I didn't feel anything for it, and I was honestly, by the end of the game, just playing it just to get the game done and get it reviewed. If this was something that I didn't have to do for work, I probably wouldn't have finished the game, ultimately. But, as I said, that's my opinion. That is just me. You've obviously all got your own. Don't forget to head over to both the forums on thealienarena.com and the discussion thread in eu.alienarena.com/the zone. We'll have a discussion thread up there. I'd like to discuss this with a lot of people because being the type of game it is, being the type of story that it is, everyone is going to have a different opinion and everyone's going to have different understanding of that story and of the reasons and the choices. And as I say, everyone's going to have their own choices that you made throughout the game. So I would love to hear how you guys played it in comparison to how I did. So of course, stop by that discussion thread and let me know. I'll like to chat with you about it on there. Now, next week, we're going to be playing Dawngate. That is a brand new MOBA game from the guys over at EA and Waystone Games. I have a friend in there by the name of Pluto. Some of you may recognise if you are familiar with the League of Legends scene, but we'll be playing some games with Pluto and the developers from that. And of course, it is in a semi-open beta now. There's a lot of keys out there. I will try and get some to give away on the show next week. But if you want to come and play some games of Dawngate with us over the course of the next week while we're gathering footage and getting this next episode filmed, do stop by, again, eu.alienarena.com/the zone and follow the zone on Twitter at the AW Zone. We'll be tweeting out when we're playing, when you can queue up, when we want people to invite, and I'll get plenty of you in there. We'll have lots of different games of Dawngate because I still have a lot to learn about this game myself. So I'd love to get some of you guys involved in that. But ultimately, again, that's it for another week. I will see you in 1 week's time with Dawngate.